Unit 3, Formative 2, Day 1. Today we're going to be starting graphing linear inequalities. The first thing we need to do is review over what an inequality is. Okay, these are the four inequality signs. You have the less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than equal. We got to remember what it was like to graph them. Okay, so if we remember, if we had a sign that looked like a less than or a greater than, we used an open dot. Okay, we used an open dot to represent that it was not an answer. Okay, this is going to be the same thing, but with a line, we can't really do a dot. So we are going to do a dashed line if our sign is less than or greater than. Meaning if it's not equal to, we need to do a dashed line. Okay, if our sign looks like these two, remember we did a closed dot to show that it was equal to. Okay, so now we need to know that if it's a closed dot or if it's or equal to, we need to do a solid line. Okay, you need to remember that any number or any point on a dashed line is not an answer. So not answers for the dashed line. But any point on a solid line is an answer. Okay, that's the whole point of the dashed line, solid line. Otherwise the graphing is pretty much the same. So number one, if I was to graph this y is greater than 2x plus 3, I would see that this is in slope-intercept form. And I would see that my slope is 2, my y-intercept is 3. Okay, so I would start with my y-intercept, which is 3, and I'd put a point. So I put a point up 3, and then I would use the slope of 2. It's really 2 over 1, so I'd go up 2 and over 1. And you could do that a couple times. Now remember when I said don't make your lines baby lines to extend it around the whole graph? This is why. Okay, so now I look back at my sign, which was greater than. This is not equal to, which means I need a dashed line. So I'm going to make a dashed line all the way through the graph. Okay? So now that I have my line, the other part of graphing inequalities that's different is the shading. Okay, so we need to shade. So we need to look at this, and the first thing we want to do is find a point that is not on the line. Okay, we need one that's not on the line because we already know that the numbers on these, or the points on this line is not an answer. Okay, so I want to find one not. I always pick the easiest one, so I always pick 0, 0. Okay, if you can, pick 0, 0. It's the easiest one to do. Alright, and then what you have to do, so we just picked the point 0, 0. Remember that means x is 0 and y is 0. So I'm going to take those numbers, I'm going to put it into my equation. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So 0 is greater than 2 times 0 plus 3. So I just put 0 where my y was and 0 where my x was. Okay, and I want to know if this is a true or false statement. I want to know if 0, 0 is an answer to this problem. Okay, so I plug it in and I get 0 is greater than 2 times 0 is just 0 plus 3 is 3. So then I read that. Is 0 greater than 3? No, that's a false statement. Okay, so since it's false, that means 0, 0 is not an answer, so we have to go away from 0, 0. Because if you remember, our shading shows us where the answers are. Okay, so the shading part shows you where all of the answers are. So if 0, 0 is not an answer, we have to shade on the opposite side of the line of 0, 0. Okay, let's try another one. Number 2, y is less than or equal to negative 1 over 3x plus 5. Okay, so again, we can graph this. This is all review, so you should be able to graph these pretty well. My slope is negative 1 over 3. My y-intercept is 5. So that means I start up 5. And then I use my slope, and it's negative 1 over 3, so I go down 1 over 3. Remember, we still always go to the right. Then I look back at my sign, which is less than or equal to, and I decide, okay, do I need a dashed line or do I need a solid line? Well, this one is or equal to, so I need a solid line that extends throughout my entire graph. Okay, so we have our line. Now we got to figure out where our answers are. We got to figure out where the shading needs to be. So what we do is we pick a point not on the line. So if you look, 0, 0 is down here. So we know if it's a true statement, we know that we're going to shade down here if it's true. If it's false, we're going to shade up here. Okay, so let's plug in 0, 0 and find out. So we get 0 is less than or equal to negative 1 over 3 times 0 plus 5. So you get 0 is less than or equal to 5. Is 0 less than or equal to 5? Yes, so that's a true statement, which means 0, 0 is an answer. So we shade towards 0, 0. Alright, number 3. This one now is in standard form, so we have to remember that standard form is where we do the cover-up method. So if I do this, I get 4x equals 20, and I get negative 5y equals 20. Divide by 4, so x equals 5. Divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5, so y equals negative 4. Okay, and then I graph where does x equal 5. X is at 5 over here. Y is at negative 4 down here. Okay, I look back to my sign, which is greater than. It's not equal to, so I need a dashed line all the way through my graph. Okay, now we got to pick a point not on the line, so we're going to pick 0, 0. So that's going to tell us we're either going to shade towards it if it's an answer, or we're going to shade away from it if it's not an answer. So when we do this, we get 4 times 0 minus 5 times 0, which is greater than 20. These both cancel, so it's just 0 is greater than 20. Is 0 greater than 20? No, so we got to shade away from 0, 0 because 0, 0 is not an answer, and the shading shows where the answers are. Alright, one more. Alright, 2x plus 6y is greater than or equal to negative 18. Again, the cover-up method, so you have 2x equals negative 18, you have 6y equals negative 18, so you get x equals negative 9, and y equals negative 3. Okay, x is negative 9 all the way back here. Y is negative 3 down here. We look back at our sign, greater than or equal to, which means we need a solid line all the way through. Okay, pick a point not on the line, so we're going to pick 0, 0. So if it's true, we're going to shade towards 0, 0. If it's false, we're going to shade away from it. So we have 2 times 0 plus 6 times 0 is greater than or equal to negative 18. So you get 0 is greater than or equal to negative 18. Is 0 greater than or equal to negative 18? Yes, so we want to shade towards 0, 0 since 0, 0 is an answer. Alright, make sure you have all that written down. See you tomorrow.